PM wise usage of presidential rule or Article 356, especially in this era, right? Let us see. Madam Gandhi remained PM starting 1966, immediately after Lal Bahadur Shastri's death, right? So 1966 to 1977 until your emergency was revoked, and the second term she had was from 1980 to 1984 until her death, right? So in those 15 years, if you see, in the first stint she used this Article 356 35 times, and in the second stint, if you see, right, she had used this article or misused this article 15 times. So collectively, in a span of 14 years of her as a PM, she has used this article at 50 instances. Can you imagine? Leave aside this information, leave aside this Indira Gandhi madam, because she was always considered that autocratic or ambitious leader. Let us see few democratic leaders, right? This spill, look at this spill, this lining that my pen is pointing. If you could see these suspension belong to 1977. So you have in 1977 this Janata government coming to the power, and as soon they came to the power, in one go, in one stroke, they dismissed 9 governments ruled by INC in the states, right, citing the reason that just because they have lost the general election, means election of the center, they have also lost the faith in the state as well. How ridiculous this reasoning was. So after having covered this 44th amendment effect in Article 352, let us enter into next slide and let us discuss something called precedent rule, right, which is also alternatively called state emergency and has been covered in Indian Constitution under Article 356, right. So you had Article 352, under which you had national emergency, then Article 356 we have state emergency or precedent rule, and then Article 360 that will deal with financial emergency. So let us enter into next slide and let us see what this Article 356 is all about. So Article 356, if you see on the screen, you have these many clauses on the screen, right. So we have to study this, all the clauses that we do have. So let us read it one by one, right. So presidential emergency or state emergency, Article 356, and let us read these clauses one by one. So the first clause reads, if the president on receipt of report from governor of the state or otherwise, right. So let us stop here and let us have information, let us absorb information. So president can impose state emergency or precedent rule on the state. How? On receipt of report from governor or otherwise, means even if there is no receipt of report from the governor, even then president is empowered to impose state emergency. So report or no report from governor, president can still impose state emergency. So if president is satisfied that a situation has arisen in which state government or state administration cannot be run on the constitutional lines, in that case president can recommend imposition of Article 356. Under subclauses A, B, C of clause 1, it discusses that where the executive power will go, where the legislative power will go, and what will happen to the judicial power in the state, right. So let us discuss these subclauses. So what information did we fetch from first clause? So the information that we fetch from the first clause, that whether report from governor or no report from governor, president is empowered to impose Article 356 or state rule in any state. Let us discuss this first clause now, right. So first clause talks about executive function. So instead of reading all these clauses, let me tell you the essence of these clauses, and the essence is that the executive power that has been discussed in sub clause, right, executive power of the state, if precedent rule has been imposed and if the state legislature has been dissolved, in that case executive power will belong to president. What happens to the legislative power? So legislative power has been mentioned in clause subclause B, and that is declare that president can declare that the powers of legislature of the state shall be exercisable by or under the authority of parliament. What is the meaning of this exercisable by or under the authority of parliament? So legislative function will go to the parliament, and what it says is that that can be exercisable, the legislative function can be exercisable by the parliament or any authority that parliament will mention, right. So under the authority of parliament, right? So either it will belong to parliament, legislative power of the state will belong to parliament or any authority that has been recommended by parliament, right? What happens to the judicial powers of the High Court? So judicial power of the High Court will have no impact. That has been declared in clause 1 subclause C, right? So you disturb this executive clause, you can appropriate this legislative, means you, when I am saying, right, I am referring to union or president, right? So union cabinet, here in this case executive power has gone to president, the legislative power has gone to parliament or any authority under the parliament, right? But judicial power will not be disturbed, judicial power will remain unaffected, and that will belong to the High Court of that state. In the second clause, if you see, it says that how this precedent rule can be revoked, right? So any such proclamation, that is presidential rule it is referring to, so any such proclamation may be revoked or varied by a subsequent proclamation, right? So if there has been any presidential proclamation, that can be only revoked. There is only one way. If you remember, while discussing national emergency under Article 352, right, national emergency can be revoked by two methods, one by president himself or herself, and the second was on the resolution that has been initiated by in Lok Sabha and passed by simple majority, right? But here in this case, if precedent rule has been imposed in any of the state, Lok Sabha does not have any control for the abrogation or for the removal of precedent rule, right? So any such proclamation may be revoked or varied by subsequent proclamation by president himself. Let us move to the next slide and let us discuss this fourth clause. So the fourth clause says that in what time, if precedent rule has been imposed in any state, in what time that proclamation should be proposed or should be sent to the parliament. So here it says that proclamation should be led before the two houses of the parliament, which must approve it within 2 months by simple majority. What was the case in national emergency? So national emergency, this was the 1 month. So parliament or the both houses in the parliament, that was Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, had to approve national emergency proclamation in 1 month. So that has been changed here to 2 months. A relaxation has been given to the parliament because it's only in the state, right? It's not across the nation. That was case in national emergency, and then only by simple majority. There you had this special majority provision, right? However, if Lok Sabha is dissolved, so it may be the case where state emergency in any state has been proclaimed, and the time when this proclamation reaches to the parliament, LS maybe Lok Sabha may have been dissolved either due to expiry of term or due to no confidence motion. So in that case, if Lok Sabha has been dissolved in period of this 2 months, this will continue, this proclamation will continue in operation if Rajya Sabha has approved it, and Lok Sabha when reconstituted, means when it has its first meeting within 30 days, it also Lok Sabha reconstituted, Lok Sabha also approves it, right? So to better understand this fourth clause, let us have the image that we had used in national emergency, right? So suppose a state undergoes on 3rd May 2020 under presidential emergency or state emergency, right? So as soon president signs that presidential emergency, state emergency will be applied, but then that has to be sent to the parliament, and parliament means both the houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, need to approve it within span of 2 months, right? So it has been sent to the parliament. Parliament can do 3 things. It can approve. Once approved, it will remain operational for next 6 months. So if on 3rd May 2020, if the parliament approves that state emergency, right, it will run until 3rd November 2020. The second action parliament can take is that it can reject it. As soon parliament rejects it, right, on the same day this state emergency or presidential emergency will stand revoked. Or parliament, the third thing parliament can do is that it will take no action, it will keep sitting on it, right? So in that case, it will not be remain operational after 2 months. This should be edited from 1 month because this image belong to that national emergency. So just amend it from 1 month to 2 months, right? The second situation can be that if when it is sent to the parliament, right, Rajya Sabha, because it never dissolved, so Rajya Sabha is in operation, but Lok Sabha's term has expired and the house stands dissolved, or maybe that cabinet has lost its confidence and house remains dissolved. So in that case, when Lok Sabha is dissolved, what will happen in that case? Because Lok Sabha cannot approve it, right, within that 2 months, because it has to have a new election and thereafter only Lok Sabha can have its sitting. So in that case, if Rajya Sabha approves it by simple majority, the presidential rule will continue to be in operation, provided that when Lok Sabha is reconstituted and have its first meeting, right, from that first meeting within the 30 days, right, Lok Sabha also needs to approve it, right. So suppose Lok Sabha is reconstituted and have its meeting on 20th of June. Mind you that on 3rd May this was applied, this president rule was proclaimed. So if Lok Sabha reconstitute and have its first meeting on 20th of June, so Lok Sabha will have to approve this proclamation in next 1 month 30 days, that is 20th of July, right. I hope this has been understood. The only change that you have to do is that from 1 month to 2 months, this pen is not working, so I cannot do that, right. So I hope this 4th clause would be clear to you. Let us move to the next slide and let us have this 5th and 6th clause. So 5th and 6th clause of article 356, it talks about periodic approval, right. So parliament has to periodically approve this state emergency or presidential emergency every 6 months, means executive or union government which has imposed this emergency on the state, they will have to go to parliament, have approval from parliament every 6 months, then only, and in this case it won't be difficult, because only by simple majority this thing has to, the whatever difficulty the union will have, they will have if they do not have simple majority even in Rajya Sabha. In that case only they will have difficulty, otherwise in Lok Sabha they already have the majority, and that's why they are in government, right. So in Lok Sabha they will not have any kind of issue, right. So the point that I want to make is that the approval of state emergency vis-a-vis national emergency is very easy in parliament when compared to National Assembly, right. So periodic approval every 6 months, thereafter maximum period of president rule is 3 years. What was the maximum period for what you call national emergency? It could continue for unlimited time, provided that every 6 months executive keeps obtaining parliamentary approval, right. Here maximum period for which president rule can last in a state is 3 years, and even that 3 years, even terms and condition, if you can see here, you have here you do have star, right. So what is the terms and condition? The terms and condition is that if union executive has to continue or the president has to continue, right. Whenever I am referring to union cabinet or union executive, right, and not president, see, president is only ceremonial head. Whatever decision regarding imposition of the state emergency by the president, it is taken by the union cabinet, right, union executive, and that's why I am continually referring as union cabinet and not the president, because the de facto head is PM, right, in our parliamentary system. So if the union cabinet or president has to continue the state emergency in any state post 1 year, it needs to fulfill 2 conditions, and those 2 conditions has been mentioned in this 6th clause. So although the constitutionally limited maximum period, limited period is 3 years, but if the union cabinet has to go beyond that 1 year, it has to get these 2 conditions fulfilled, and the first condition is that the national emergency should be in operation in whole or any part of that state, and the second condition is that election commission, that is EC, must certify that the condition prevailing in the state is not conducive for the election to be conducted. That happened in Jammu and Kashmir's case, right, when president rules extended beyond 1 year, EC had given this certification, right, and this provision, these 2 provisions were added as a safeguard through 44th amendment, right. Earlier this thing was there that beyond 3 years could not be extended, but this post 1 year, these 2 conditions were not there until 1978. So this safeguard for the states were inserted in Indian Constitution by 44th amendment, right. So what 44th amendment, even in national emergency case and state emergency case, what you are seeing continuously is that 44th amendment is continuously putting some check on the union cabinet's abuse of power, be it national emergency or be it state emergency. Let us move to the next slide. This slide we already have seen, right? So what are the other grounds apart from 356? One ground is already mentioned in 356(1), that if president feels that the state administration or state government cannot be run on constitutional lines, in that case, irrespective of whether report has been received from governor or not, right, he can proclaim emergency. What are the other grounds? So in constitution, if you say article 355, so article 355 says that it shall be bounden duty, or it shall be the constitutional duty of union to protect state against any external aggression or internal disturbance, and to ensure that the government of the state runs on constitutional lines. So it is, see, actually if you see that it is imposing a kind of duty, right? So whenever a state has been subjected to any kind of external aggression, so suppose for example tomorrow you have this Arunachal Pradesh, right? Earlier it was called NEFA, right? So if Arunachal Pradesh is being attacked by China tomorrow, so Arunachal Pradesh cannot be expected to have that amount of resources in terms of military and all that it could protect itself. So this duty has been put on union through article 355, that if there is any external aggression against the state, right, then it is bounden duty of state to protect that state from the external aggression. Taking alibi of this aggression, right, state can go under this, state can undergo the presidential rule. The second is that if there is any kind of internal disturbance. So what kind of internal disturbance it could be, right? So if someone, again I have taken an imaginary case, I God forbid this kind of situation never arise, but this has arisen in past, right? So if you do have any kind of communal flare up in Maharashtra, again I am taking a hypothetical case, right? No people of Maharashtra, right? I would have taken name of Bihar, then Bihar people would have been offended. I have taken in this case Maharashtra. So no offenses to the people of Maharashtra, if, or politicians of Maharashtra especially. So tomorrow if there is any communal flare up in Maharashtra, right, and that has claims multiple lives, 200, 300 people have been lost, there have been collateral damages, and a communal flare up has gone to the extent that the police is not able to control it. But due to political reasons, Maharashtra government is not requesting union for its help. It is not requesting, means in ideal situation, a state government finding itself unable to control the situation of these nature, communal nature, generally they request union to send their army, central forces, right, to control the situation. But suppose in this case, right, because of political reason, right, they do not want to give any kind of mileage to the central government or the ruling party in the central, so they do not call army by requesting union. So what will union do? Union can wait for a day, 2 days, but when cases number of this life lost will rise, right, it becomes again the bounden duty of union to consider it as internal disturbance within the state. So in this case, union can consider it as internal disturbance. They can suspend the state government, right, can send the army, central forces, and can protect the state. Although generally union government, if they do not want to get into political controversy, they may not take call to what you call implement or to proclaim state emergency. They can simply send the army to control the situation, but they do have this provision of article 355. If in such situation of communal flare up, when state government does not call, then union government or president can consider it as a situation of internal disturbance and announce the state emergency imposition in that state. So these are two situations under article 355. Then see other article, article 365. So article 365, if you read on the screen, where any state has failed to comply with or give effect to any of the direction given in the exercise of the executive power of union under any directions provision of this constitution, it shall be lawful. Let me give you, means you can read it, right? Let me give you the essence. So under constitution, union do hold power to give executive direction in certain matter to the state, and state is, it is bounden duty of state to follow those executive directions. So there are certain provision in the constitution when we'll deal with center state relation, which we have not deliberately covered. Once we have covered the chapter of governor, president and emergency provision, then we'll cover that center state relation. So this is the information for you as well, right? The center state relation will be covered after this, right? So under center state relation at executive function, there are certain areas in which center is empowered to give executive direction to the state, and it is bounden duty of the state to follow those executive direction, right? And if they do not follow those executive direction in those areas we'll discuss it again in center state relation, right? So it will be again lawful for the president to consider that the situation has arisen in which government of the state cannot be carried on the constitutional lines, and again union government can resort to 356, right? So if you take the example, recently you have Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, right? So many state, means it is a so it is a matter of citizenship, right? And citizenship lies in list 1, that is in union's domain in 7th schedule under article 246, right? So a Citizenship Amendment Act had been passed by government, right? There are many controversy. You had this Shaheen Bagh controversy, right, and erupted across the nation on the basis of discrimination. Again, we will not get into the merit of this case because that is not the scope of this chapter. Let me just get into the legalities. So citizenship is the matter of union list, right? So they had passed, they are well within their rights, union is well within its right to have laws or have any kind of amendment on the citizenship, right? So they have passed a law, CAA 2019. There are many states which have passed resolution against the implementation of CAA in their state. Kerala was a front runner which publicly took the stand that if this law is passed and if this law is notified by in the Gazette of Government of India, we are not going to implement it in our state. But that was only a political symbolism. Let me tell you, state governments are bound to pass any law that has been passed by parliament and implement. If the state union government takes a tough stand and says that it has to be implemented, because mind you, say earlier you had this Ayushman Bharat scheme, right, a health scheme, and their implementation was denied by West Bengal government. But because the health lies in what you call state list as well, so state can refuse implementation of any scheme, right? Within a union can do much in that area. But here citizenship matter is lying within the union list, and any such bill that has been passed by parliament and that lies within the union list, any such implementation cannot be denied by the state. And if any state, suppose Kerala, denies the implementation of this act, center will be well within its right using this article to invoke this article 365 and resort to article 356, means precedent rule can be what you call imposed. So it will be bounden duty, it will be lawful for the president if CAA is not implemented, or if any state takes a stand that will not implement CAA, it will be lawful for the president to hold that a situation has arisen in which government of the state cannot be carried in accordance with the constitution, and 356 can be used, right? So these are other grounds apart from 356, right, that can be used by center, right? So whatever we saw right now until now in regard to article 355 and 365, that can be taken as that center that can be taken as if that center can misuse it. But if you see the positive side of these two articles, mean these are not just alibi to give center more powers, right? Actually, if you see the positive essence of article 355, it is imposing a kind of obligation on the union, right? How obligation? Means you have to protect the state from what? Any kind of external aggression, right? You have to protect the state from any kind of internal disturbance. So this is nothing, if you see the positive side, this is just an imposition of obligation on the center, right? It is just incidentally or secondary that in pursuance of these obligations, center can impose state emergency. And the kind of political environment that do exist today, right, where you have mature citizenry, awakened citizenry, you have vibrant media, in those kind of times center would never resort to using of these articles for imposition of precedent rule. If you see again 365, so under 365 I cited you, I gave you a case where Citizenship Amendment Act, right. So under that, if the state refuses to implement that CAA, union is well within its right to impose Article 356. But this article has not been given in Indian Constitution from that angle, right. You have various laws, right, in which uniformity has to be brought, right. So and if the uniformity is not brought, right, that can fuel regionalism, that can fuel what you call communalism, right. And that's why center has been given certain jurisdiction, certain law in which uniformity is needed, and those laws can be implemented or can be enacted by parliament. And if states refuses implementation of such law where uniformity is needed, right, then the imposition of precedent rule becomes lawful, right. Then you have second scenario where international, if Indian government cabinet has signed any agreement with say Nepal or Bangladesh, right, you have Farakka river agreement which is yet to be signed, right. So if tomorrow Bangladesh union government signs any land boundary agreement or river agreement which hampers the political interest of TMC in West Bengal, can they deny this international obligation? No, they should not be denying, because ultimately it's union's duty or it's union's power to sign any kind of agreement, and once union has signed any kind of agreement with another country, it will be lawful for the state to oblige to that international obligations that has been signed by union government. And if states deny for the political reason, fulfillment of this international obligation, then again that will be lawful for the president. So the positive side is this, that is these two article is nothing but it is imposing, right, obligation on the state. It's just again incidentally or secondary that this sometime become ground for proclaiming state emergency on the state. Let us move to the next slide and let us see a few facts. So facts are that Article 356 is most politically abused provision, and this we already had discussed. So while national emergency for the political reason has been used only once in Indian post-independence history, but if you see, there has been more than 132 times, right. So this is the data that has been given by Home Minister on floor of the House, that until last year you had 132 instances of state emergency or precedent rule in various states, right. So this can let you know that how frequently precedent rule has been resorted by various political party. How many years we are independent since? So maximum 73 years, right. So in 73 years you have 135 instances of precedent rule. Can you imagine the rate, right? And most of the cases I was going through during this data collection, I was going through various instances of state imposition or precedent rule imposition, right, in the Wikipedia, and most of the cases, let me tell you, out of this 135 times, at least 90 plus times this article has been used for the political purposes in an arbitrary manner by the governor, right. We'll study this. I have put up the data here as well, right. If you see, UP has remained for the most number of times under the precedent rule, while J&K has remained in the precedent rule for most number of days, right. Let us have this in a pictorial format. So if you see, J&K has been under precedent rule 6 times, including the recent one, number would go to 7 times. Then Uttar Pradesh 9 times, Manipur, oh, astoundingly 10 times. Then you have Bihar 8 times, Gujarat 5 times, right. So what was the rationality that we cited behind implementation of emergency in state or national level? So rationality was this, right, that you had this external aggression by Pakistan, then disruptive forces. So whatever reason that we saw so far that were related to the security angle and mainly used or mainly considered during application of national emergency in India, right? If you see state specific reason for the inclusion of emergency provision in Indian constitution, it would be this. So to cater to the political demands like hung assembly, majority party unwilling. So these were the reasons that constitutional makers would have envisioned for proclamation of state emergency in the states, right? So along with security angles, right, there are some political genuine angles as well for which state emergency can be implemented, right? So let us have that map again. So yes, Jammu and Kashmir is a sensitive state where you have this terrorist movement, you have separatist groups. So security angle, okay, fine. You have this Nagaland, Manipur. So even in these cases, let us agree that there would have been some insurgent movement, due to which, right, although I had gone through this again Manipur's case as well, and there were 4 or 5 incidences in which due to political defections the president rule was implemented, right? So even in this case, let us agree that the most of times, whatever number of times these states were subjected to president rule, it was because of security reason or genuine political circumstances, that there were hung assembly or majority party was unwilling to form government. Or so let us not take so let us not try to search bad angles into these, right? You had Punjab, right, 9 times you have subjected. Let us consider that okay, some Khalistani movement was going on in 1980, 1990. So to cater to those, you time and again union government implemented or promulgated this president rule. But what about these states? Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, these does not have any security angle. We do have cordial relation with the Nepal, right? What about Madhya Pradesh? What about Gujarat? Why these state has been subjected to president rule these many times? 9 times in Uttar Pradesh. Bihar 8 times. So purely political reasons. How many genuine cases where there would have been hung assembly or there would have been majority party? How many number of cases that you will cite that this Uttar Pradesh has been subjected to? Hardly. Even if half of the cases we take that okay, there were genuine political reasons that majority party was unwilling to form government or there was hung assembly, even if half number of case is considered those genuine political circumstances, what about other half in these states, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar or Madhya Pradesh? They do not have any security angle. How do you justify this? So let us move to the next slide and let us see few more details regarding unmindful application of Article 356, right? So these are the list of state on this side. You have starting from Uttar Pradesh to Uttarakhand, right? And on the horizontal line, if you can see, this is the date timeline, sorry, year timeline. So from starting 1953, you have dates until 2018, right? So longer the spell in red, right, longer the time the state has been subjected. So this is the frequency where Gujarat has been subjected to the president rule, and the stretch, the width of this red spell just denote time duration for which the state was subjected to the presidential rule, right? So longer the spell, longer the time, right? So if you see, these longer spell belong to Punjab. So okay, there would have been some security angle. What about this? This longer spell belongs to Jammu Kashmir. Okay, security problem. So let us see. So this is the case. This is the case of Punjab, right? In 1990s, you have this Khalistani movement ongoing. So state government was dismissed. You have a state government led by Surjit Singh Barnala, right? And that state was dismissed and that gone to union government, right? So 4 years, 259, even if there is a security angle, as a union you do have every resource at its disposal, right? How do you justify this 4 years, 259 days? Right? You had this provision of imposing president rule in any state only for 3 years, and especially for this state that provision was amended. Constitutional amendment was made especially for this state so that president rule could go beyond 3 years. Right? Even if security angle is there, right, as a union government you do have so much resource at your disposal, right? Then take the example of what you call J&K, Jammu and Kashmir, again in 1990 to 1996 for 6 long years, damn it. You have subjected a state. What about this federalism debate? Federalism which talks about autonomy to the state, constitutional rights to the state. What are you doing as a union government? You are making, and that's what I was telling, that these emergency provision are doing nothing. These emergency provision are turning Indian constitution into a unitary state, a unitary governance, right? It is because of these reasons. When you are removing popularly elected governments, governments which has been elected directly by the people, and having these long spells of president rule in any state, as a union government, what was the reason behind creation of Panchayati Raj or states? The reason was that those people residing with them, right, they can be better representative, they can understand their needs in a better way, right? And that's why you had this Panchayati Raj in 1993. And here in this case, you are taking away these rights. You are removing popularly elected. So, okay, even in this case, let us consider that there was security angle. Let us justify, rather than critiquing it, let us justify it, right? But here, in case of Nagaland, right, in 1975 to 1977, you had 2 years, 250 days of president rule purely due to political reason, and that was defections. Elections were not held for these many years. Right, in this case, Nagaland, although has this insurgent movement, but this spell, this long spell, was not due to some insurgent movement or instability or some law and order problem. It was purely due to defections. Come on. Thereafter, if you see this spell, look at this spell, this lining that my pen is pointing. If you could see these suspension belong to 1977 period. So you have in 1977 this Janta government coming to the power, and as soon they came to the power, in one go, in one stroke, they dismissed 9 governments ruled by INC in the states, right, citing the reason that just because they have lost the general election, means election of the center, they have also lost the faith in the state as well. How ridiculous this reasoning was. On the basis of this reasoning, you are suspending 9 popularly state governments. And similar thing, similar footstep will be followed by Indira Gandhi when Janta government loses majority, right? Indira Gandhi comes to power in 1980, and 1980 you will see same 9 government will be suspended. Can you see this? So same 9 government will be suspended by Indira Madam as well. So these are the political misuse of the article that I was talking about, right? There are intermittent political misuse or arbitrary use of this presidential provision or presidential rule by various. It's not only about Congress, or it's not only about Janta government. All the parties that have remained in center, they have misused it, right, on various occasions. So let us move to the next slide, and on the next slide what you have is phases in center-state relation vis-a-vis misuse of Article 356, right. So I have divided center-state relation vis-a-vis misuse of Article 356 in 3 phases. The first phase is pre-1967, the second phase is post-1967 and until 1993 when you have this Bomai, SR Bomai case, right, and the third phase is post-Bomai case, means in 1994, right. So why I have taken this cutoff year of 1967? Because of political situation. So until 1967 what you had is that in states as well and in center as well, Congress dominance, right. So everything was going smooth as far as center-state relation is concerned. In economic policy, in economic sphere, you had this planning commission headed by Nehru ji or Prime Minister, whosoever it was, right, be it Lal Bahadur Shastri or Madam Gandhi. So until 1967, economic policies was decided mainly by planning commission, not by finance commission, which was constitutional body, although planning commission, mind you, has right now been disbanded, but that was an executive body, and this executive body was designing all the economic policies, all the economic laws, and NDC, that was National Development Council, headed by this chief minister, they simply ratified the policies that was designed by planning commission. So the point is that everything, because you had single party rule in center and states as well, so everything went smooth. None of the controversial provisions of the constitution was used against any state. So you will see intermittent uses of Article 356, but that was sparingly used, and whenever it was used, it was only on justifiable grounds. So until 1967 you had only 2 governments, small stint by left in Tripura and similar small stint by CPIM in Kerala. So those were suspended, but then there was justifiable reason for their suspension and misuse of Article 356, because Nehru as well, along with the single party rule, Nehru was also a democratic leader, although at the end of the day he was also a politician. But until 1967, if you see overall, right, the center-state relation remained smooth. There were minimal uses of this Article 356. Whatever number of uses would have been there, they were on the justifiable ground. Come 1967, so this was a year of jolt for Congress as far as government was concerned. So you had 9 states in which non-Congress government was formed, right? So as soon you have rise of regional parties in these 9 states, what will they do? They'll start asserting their rights. They'll start demanding constitutional autonomy. They'll start claiming the rights that and Congress party is not used to these kind of demands, right? They cannot tolerate this. So what will happen? You will see that center state feud will start, right, as soon the state begins asserting their constitutional autonomy. Central big brotherly attitude that is being questioned, right, in legislative and financial affairs, right? So if these things will happen, to which Congress is not used, what will they do? They will use every controversial article or every controversial power that union has at its disposal. So you will see that all controversial provision available in the constitution were used against these states, right? Phase of political abuse of Article 356 start, right? So we are talking about 1966. Let's have another data, right? So if you see PM wise uses of presidential rule or Article 356, especially in this era, right? Let us see. Madam Gandhi remained PM starting 1966, immediately after Lal Bahadur Shastri's death, right? So 1966 to 1977 until your emergency was revoked, and the second term she had was from 1980 to 1984 until her death, right? So in those 15 years, if you see, in the first stint she used this Article 356 35 times, and in the second stint, if you see, right, she had used this article or misused this article 15 times. So collectively, in a span of 14 years of her as a PM, she has used this article at 50 instances. Can you imagine the misuse or the arbitrary use of this Article 356? Leave aside this information, leave aside this Indira Gandhi madam, because she was always considered that autocratic or ambitious leader. Let us see few democratic leaders, right? So Janata Party, right? It is a combination of leaders like Atal Bihari Vajpayee, L.K. Advani, JP, right? He was a social reformer. Then you had Lohia. What happened during their governance? So in a period, 3 years small period, they used this article, misused this article for 16 times. Can you imagine again? These people who are called, means these people are group of democratic leaders 16 times, right? So this data, if you see another breakup, this is the data from Sarkaria Commission report, right, which has collected data from 1950 to 1987 regarding the misuse of Article 356, right? So if you see 1965 to 1969, in that period where non-Congress government was formed, 9 governments were formed in 1967, right? And 9 times, this 9 instances of presidential application or 356 misuse. Out of those 9 cases, 7 instances of application of this state emergency happened during this 2 years only. Can you imagine? Then 19 instances of state emergency uses from 1970 to 1974. Then from 1975 to 1979, 21 instances of presidential emergency. Huge data. So this is what I was talking about, misuse or political misuse of the data, for which this article was most criticized, right? If you see, then second phase we already have discussed. If you see the third phase, that become this SR Bommai case, as far as misuse of Article 356 is concerned, this SR Bommai case is going to be a landmark case that we'll discuss in this video, right? So this case was nothing but this case is going to give template to governor and president as to in what way this 356 should be approached, right? So to ensure that, okay, misuse does not happen. So after this Bommai case, kind of break was applied to the unmindful and misuse or arbitrary use of 356. Bommai issued elaborate guidelines on appropriate and inappropriate circumstances of 356, and this judgment applied a brake on unmindful and political application of Article 356. So after 1990, although that has not been completely eliminated misuse of 356, but yes, it has applied some sense of brake, right? Even today, governors acting on behalf of center, they do act in partisan manner, but their activities, you will see, is continuously checked by Supreme Court on the parameter that has been decided by Supreme Court in SR Bomai case, right? So these has been three different phases as far as center-state relation vis-a-vis misuse of Article 356 is concerned. Let us move to the next slide. This we already have seen, right? Let us move to the next slide and let us see that what damage these unmindful application does to our democratic fabric or federal fabric of our constitution. So politically motivated application of precedent rule subverts parliamentary system, subverts rule of law and federalism of our Indian constitution. So the question, after having discussed these many data, if you have 132 or 135 instances of presidential application in only 73 years of independence, the question that we should be raising is that did our far-sighted constitutional maker did not see this coming? Did not envision possibility of political misuse of emergency provision? The answer is yes. They had apprehended misuse or political misuse of this Article 356, but the member who had expressed their apprehension, you will see that T.T. Krishnamachari, K.N. Unjru, Kamatji, right? They will express their apprehension, but their apprehension were outweighed by hopefulness, by the optimism shown by members like Dr. Ambedkar and Mr. Nehru, right? So those people expressed that no, they showed some hope in future political class, that it will be incumbent on future political class. They will remain wise, and the president especially and governor who is supposed to be impartial, they will remain impartial. There are many checks and balances, right? Even if any politician or executive resort to giving unmindful advice to president which is considered as a neutral post, right, they will not exercise. So with this hopefulness or with this optimism, Dr. Ambedkar discarded the apprehensions expressed by Constitutional Assembly members. So let us see the comments from H.V. Kamath, right? So his cautioning words were that I fear that by this single chapter's introduction, what we are going to do is we are going to lead down the foundation of a totalitarian state, right? We are going to form a police state, right? A state completely opposed to the ideals and principles that we have held aloft so far during independence movement, where the liberties and rights of millions of people, millions of citizens will be in continuous jeopardy. So this is the apprehension that he is expressing. Thereafter he says that it will be the day of shame and sorrow when president make use of these power having no parallels in the democratic countries of the world. Although this last line, that having no parallels in the democratic countries of the world, is factually incorrect. You do have a mature democracy like United States of America, Germany, France, all those do have these provisions. It's just that these provisions they rarely use. Their political culture is so developed from citizens angle as well and from politicians angle as well, that generally they do not resort to political misuse of such articles, right? So this is factually incorrect, but you see the sense, right? So this is what H.V. Kamath had expressed, this apprehension. If you see T.T. Krishnamachari's statement, by means of these provisions, the president and the executive will be exercising a form of constitutional dictatorship, right? So this is what T.T. Krishnamachari said. Regarding financial emergency, H.N. Kunjru's statement was that the emergency financial provision posed a serious threat to the financial autonomy of the state, right? So these were the cautioning, or these were the apprehension that these three constitutional, although there were many members that had expressed their apprehension regarding this 356, right, unmindful application or politically motivated vendetta driven application of 356, but as I told that their apprehension was not ignored, right, rather outweighed by the optimistic comments or optimistic or hopefulness by the Dr. Ambedkar. So let us see what Dr. Ambedkar's response was to these apprehension expressed by these constitution assembly members like T.T. Krishnamachari or Kunzru, right? So here you see, let me get off the screen so that you can read it, and thereafter I'll start reading. So I share the sentiment that such article will never be called into operation. So this is the hopefulness I was talking about. So he says that I share the sentiment that such articles like 356 will never called into operation, right, and they would remain the dead letter. So see the hopefulness and optimism that I was talking about. If at all they are brought into operation, I hope that president who is endowed with these powers will take appropriate precautions before actually suspending the administration of the provinces, right. I hope the first thing he will do is to issue a mere warning to the state, means state on which this 356 has to be applied. He will issue a warning to a province that if he has erred, means the state has made a mistake, right. And even if that warning fails, the next thing that Dr. Ambedkar suggests is that if that warning fails, the second thing for the president is that he will order an election to allow people of that state to decide that what will be the future of the state, rather than you as a union cabinet or a union executive deciding what will be the fate of the state. Let people of that state decide their fate, right. Means in a democratic manner. He is talking about parliament, protection of parliamentary system. He is talking about rule of law. He is talking about protection of federalism through that statement. This statement is nothing but a reflection of his hopefulness in the future leaders, right. So let us move to the next slide and let us see the famous SR Bommai case, which has become almost a template or almost a direction for future governors or future president while they are imposing any kind, or while they are recommending any kind of presidential rule in any state. So this is going to be this judgment. So what is this SR Bommai versus Union of India case in 1994? So SR Bommai was actually Karnataka chief minister, right, and one of his lawmaker had defected, one or two rather lawmaker had defected to the Congress, and rather the defection of those one or two lawmaker was not spoiling the equation. He could still be the chief minister, but one or two lawmakers had forced signature of other 12 or 13 lawmakers as well. So on the basis of, without verifying, governor without verifying the validity, rather later stage it came out that those signatures were actually forced, right. So governor without verifying the validity of the signature, right, he recommended imposition of president rule on the basis of his own assessment that because I do have this letter or these signatures, right, I should recommend, right. Although chief minister wrote to the president office before imposition of this president rule in the state that let me allow to prove my majority, but the chance was not given to SR Bommai, right. He could not prove his majority. He dragged this decision into Supreme Court. It took around 5 to 6 years. Come 1994, right? This case happened in 1988 or 1989. After 5 or 6 years, finally this case judgment came from the Supreme Court, and this case again, as I told you, that is going to be template for the future governors and future president, right? I use a guide, a useful guide as to how or what guidelines, right, should be followed while recommending president rule in any state. So what was the judgment? If you see the first point of the judgment, so the first guideline is that the majority should be tested on the floor of the house, not in Raj Bhavan or not in the hotels. So recently, 3 years ago, you had this meeting by various lawmakers in Arunachal Pradesh, and the floor test actually happened in hotel, and that was invalidated by High Court of the Arunachal Pradesh, right. So that has happened. So the majority should be tested only on the floor of the house. Unless majority is tested, Council of Ministers should not be suspended, right. So that is the first guideline. Second guideline is that the power of president to dismiss Council of Minister is not absolute, right. That will be subjected to judicial review. So it is talking about scope of judicial review. So if president suspends any state legislature or suspends any council of minister, right, that will be subjected to judicial review. The third guideline is that president should not dissolve the house until both of the houses, means parliament, has approved the president proclamation. So the first thing that, okay, if you have to, you as a president, if you have to impose 356 after taking all the things into consideration, right, what you will do is you will only suspend Council of Ministers. They will remain in suspended operation. Legislature, as far as you will not dissolve, the legislature will be dissolved only when Parliament has approved it, right. The fourth guideline is that the court can revive suspended Council of Minister and House if mala fide is found, right. So if there is no substantiated report, if there is no substantiable ground, right, and if President has suspended or dissolved Council of Minister or House, that House can be revived, that Council of Minister can be revived, right, if mala fide is found by courts during the judicial review. The fifth guideline is that there must be a material evidence behind the proclamation, right. So if Union Cabinet has recommended any kind of proclamation in any state, right, courts cannot inquire. Under Article 74(2), right, it is not permissible for the court to inquire into suggestion that has been given by the Council of Minister to the President. So court cannot get into that, but what court can ask from Union government is that you produce at least some material evidence that proves that yes, that proclamation of emergency is justified, right. Thereafter, sixth guideline was the burden of producing material evidence lies with the Union Cabinet and not with the President, because President is nothing but acting on the advice of Union Cabinet. Seventh, if any state Council of Minister is not following basic structure, doctrine, philosophy, that can be suspended. So you had this case in 1992, Babri Masjid, right. So during that Babri Masjid demolition, most of the mobilization of those car sevak had happened from three states: Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So all these states were at that time ruled by BJP or Jan Sangh, right. So all these three state government had been suspended by PV Narasimha Rao government, right, and when that was challenged in Supreme Court actually upheld the validity of that presidential rule imposition on the grounds that these three governments had not followed the basic principle of secularism, and that's why the imposition of president rule is justified, right. So seventh guideline. Eighth is that when a new political party assumes power at the center, it should not suspend states ruled by other political parties in the state. So that 1967 case or 1977 case by Janata government suspending that 9 governments ruled by INC, and then 1980 Indira Gandhi government suspending again the same 9 governments, citing the reason that because I have won the general election, right, you have lost faith in the state as well, you have lost the people's faith in state as well. So that cannot be done. Ninth, that burden of material evidence lies with the Union Cabinet. Okay, this is a repetition. So these were the 8 major guidelines that is acting even today as a template for governors and president while imposing presidential rule. There are other set of suggestions that had been given in same SR Bommai case regarding the appropriate situation or inappropriate situation in which this Article 356 can be invoked or cannot be invoked, right. So let us first see the cases which are considered legitimate in which Article 356 can be invoked. So in cases of hung assembly where no party or coalition is willing to form government. So the first legitimate case in which 356 can be imposed is that in cases of hung assembly where no party or coalition is able to form the government. So take the example of Haryana. Haryana does have 90 assembly seats, and to have majority a party needs to have 46 seats, right. So suppose a party called A has secured only 40 seats, party B secures 30, and the third party secures 20, 40, 30, 20, that amounts to 90 seats. So no party clearly does have majority, and no party wants to form any kind of coalition either. So that will be a case of hung assembly, and in that case, if 356 is invoked, if that state is subjected to presidential rule, that will be an apt case, right. Let us see the second instance, right. So where party which has secured majority declines to form government, hey, how can, means a party which has secured, means practically it cannot be thought of, but then okay, that is the guideline. The third case, so the state in which state government willfully refuses to discharge constitutional duties. So if there is any constitutional duty that has been assigned, means if there is any duty that is supposed to be performed by the state, and if state does not perform and disregards union directive as well in that direction, then 356 can be invoked. Internal subversion, where government is deliberately acting against constitution or fomenting violent revolt. So for political benefits, if there is any government whose party members are continuously fomenting violence and the government ruled by the same party is not controlling it for the political benefit, then that will be also an appropriate case to invoke, for center to invoke this article 356 against that state. Then where a government disregards constitutional direction given by center, so Kerala case, Kerala not implementing citizenship amendment case, right, that will be a apt case for invoking 356. So let us move to the next slide and let us discuss what would be the inappropriate cases where governor rule or president rule cannot be imposed or should not be invoked, right. So where a government loses confidence of the house and governor, without exploring the possibility of further formation of the government, recommends this imposition of 356, right. So you had this Madhya Pradesh case recently, right. So Kamal Nath government had resigned even before that no confidence motion, and in that case if BJP would not have been, although that cannot happen, right, because center is right now being ruled by BJP, but let us take a hypothetical case that once Kamal Nath government has resigned, right, and immediately after that, without exploring the possibility, without sitting with the BJP, without sitting with other political party that hey, can you form the government, can you have the coalition, without exploring the permutation and combination, if governor recommends the imposition of 356, that will be an improper case. In such situation, it is not advisable, right, to recommend this 356. Second case, so where a governor makes his own assessment of support of Council of Minister and recommends. So in the SR Bomai case, where governor on the basis of that forged letter without checking the validity had made that assessment, and chief minister, current chief minister, that was SR Bomai, he was continuously dialing this governor office, right, continuously writing, but without checking the validity of those four signatures, he recommended. So he at his own assessed that Council of Minister has lost what you call support of the house, right, and support of the member, and he recommended. So that will be inappropriate case or improper case where 356 should not be invoked. In case where cabinet minister is jailed for corruption, so if chief minister or any of the cabinet minister, right, has been caught in malpractices or has been caught in any of the scandal, right, it governor cannot recommend this 356 imposition. Corruption can never, maladministration can never be the basis. It is for the people to decide electorally whether their chief minister or cabinet minister has indulged in the corruption, and it is not my assessment, it is the Supreme Court's observation and Sarkaria Commission's observation as well, that the corruption or the maladministration can never be the basis for the imposition of 356. Then internal disturbance but not amounting to internal subversion. So cases of Shaheen Bagh, right, cannot be taken as ground, right. Everybody do have right to protest against government policies. So if there are 4 or 5 cases of Shaheen Bagh in any state, that cannot be, means that is an internal disturbance, but the state machinery is still working. That is not an internal subversion, and that cannot be taken as a ground for imposing 356 in any state by the center. Where ruling party enjoying majority in assembly has suffered huge defeat in general election. So that 1977 case by Moraji Desai, right, or Janta government, right, then Indira Gandhi government in 1980, where state government is not given any warning before imposition of 356. So here as well this invocation of 356 will be improper. Let us move to the next slide. What will be the impact of precedent rule on the fundamental rights, right? So there will be no impact. In national emergency case there was impact on the fundamental right, but in case of state emergency, right, there will be no impact on fundamental rights on the citizen. What about the center state relation? What will happen in the executive sphere? What will happen in the legislative affair? What will be the impact of state emergency or presidential emergency in case a state is subjected to 356. So Council of Ministers will be suspended, and if it is approved by the proclamation of state emergency is approved by Parliament as well, then legislature will also be dissolved. In that case, President will assume executive function. So executive function will go to President, but ultimately the practice has been that the President generally transfers or delegates the executive power to Governor, and Governor along with Chief Secretary performs those executive functions. As far as legislative power is concerned, see, in national emergency case, what had happened? The legislature had not been dissolved, right? So legislature was making laws, but Parliament had overriding powers. In this case, because state legislature has been dissolved, right? So Parliament will have power to make laws on the state list, but Parliament can delegate this law making power to the President as well, right? Ordinances on the state subject can be issued by the President when Parliament is not in session. Thereafter, law made by Parliament remain in operation even after President rule has ceased to exist in that state. What was the position in national emergency case as far as laws made by Parliament was concerned? So laws made by Parliament on the state list in case of national emergency would have ceased to operate after 6 months, but in this case, because the law has been made by Parliament only on a particular state, its effect is limited only to that state, so it will not be cease to have its effect unless state government or state legislature either amends that law or repeals that law, right? So that is the difference, that is the position of various laws created by Parliament in case of national emergency, where after 6 months of removal of national emergency, the effect of that law would have ceased to exist, but here state legislature. So that is the difference, right? Let us move to the next slide and let us discuss this financial emergency. Rather, financial emergency is very small, right? So I am leaving it as of now, right? We will discuss the financial emergency on master slide, right? Because not many questions are expected from. So you can read it, right? It is very easy. It is simply like that state emergency, right? So I am leaving it as your homework, right? This is the master slide that you have to use, means whatever factual information we do have, right? All the factual information that we have discussed so far, that has been put up on this slide. As far as prelim is concerned, right, most of your answer from this chapter can be answered from these factual information that has been put up on this single slide, right? So let us discuss it one by one so that you do not face any kind of difficulty, right, during the revision. So passing majority, this is article 352 national emergency, 356 state emergency, and 360 financial emergency. So what is the passing majority that is required, right? So passing majority by the Parliament we are talking about. So in case of national emergency, special majority is required. In case of 356, that is President rule, simple majority is required, and in case of 360 again simple majority is required. What about the parliamentary approval? In how many months parliamentary approval is needed? So in case of national emergency, within 1 month of the proclamation, parliamentary approval is necessary. What about state emergency? So in a state emergency, 2 months time is given to the Parliament, and in case of financial emergency, again 2 months time is given. What about periodic approval? So periodic approval in case of national emergency, 6 months periodically approval is necessary, and national emergency can be extended for the unlimited number of time. What about state emergency? So here as well, every 6 months executive will have to obtain parliamentary approval, but this is not only in case of state emergency can be extended only for 3 years, that too with terms and conditions that beyond 1 year you needed to fulfill that 2 conditions, certification from EC and the national emergency condition. What about this? So once approved, it will continue for the unlimited time. In this case, financial emergency case, right, you need not to have periodic approval from Parliament. What about revocation? What is the method of revoking national emergency? So national emergency can be revoked by 2 methods. The first, by a subsequent proclamation, a subsequent notification from President, and Lok Sabha also does have control, right? Lok Sabha passed a resolution passed by simple majority, then national emergency can be revoked. What about state emergency? President rule. So President rule, there is no Lok Sabha control, only President can remove or revoke the presidential emergency, right? What about Article 360, right? Revocation. So revocation can be done by president. Again, Lok Sabha does not have any control. What about life of Lok Sabha and assemblies? So the impact on the life of Lok Sabha or assemblies will be, in case of national emergency, that it can be extended by 1 year in one go, right? That is not the case in 356, or that is not the case in 360 either, right? What about state legislature? What happens to state legislature? So in cases of national emergency, state legislature generally is not dissolved, right? What about 356? So you will see in 356 state legislature. So CA, the first step is the Council of Ministers is dismissed, right? But legislature will be dissolved only when Parliament has approved it, right? What about this in case of financial emergency? So it will remain operational. A state legislature will remain operational. What about the validity of laws made by Parliament in case of national emergency? Right, we just discussed. So it ceases to, validity of laws made by Parliament in case of national emergency, it will cease to be operative after 6 months. But in case of state emergency, it will not cease to operate unless state legislature either amends or repeal it, right? That is not the case in this financial emergency, right? What will be the effect on fundamental rights? So in national emergency case, right, Article 20 and 21, nothing will happen, right? As a citizen, you can continue to enjoy these rights, right? What about Article 19? So Article 19 in case of national emergency will be suspended only in case when external emergency is announced. On the grounds of what? War or external aggression, right? Other fundamental rights, if has to be suspended, president will have to sign another presidential order under Article 359. What about the fundamental rights impact? If state emergency is announced, so no such impact on fundamental right in case of what you call state emergency. Even in 360 case, right, fundamental right will not have any impact on. What will happen to the center state relations? So in executive affairs, if you see, center does have complete control, right? So prior to the implementation of national emergency, center was empowered to direct state in the executive sphere only in limited number of subjects. Now it does have complete control, complete executive control. What happened in legislative affairs? So parliament has, means state legislature will not be dissolved, but parliament will have overriding powers on the state list as well. What happens to the financial affairs? So financial affairs, in case of national emergency, president can cancel or modify the financial arrangements between central and state. What happens between the central and state relation? In case of 356, so Council of Ministers will be dismissed. That means that the president will have executive function, but president generally transfer this executive function to governor and chief secretary. What about legislative function in state emergency, right? So legislative functions, because here state has been completely dissolved, legislature has been completely dissolved, parliament or president has the legislative power. Generally parliament, but parliament does have power that it can transfer law making power to president as well. But if the question is there, right, prelim oriented question, then parliament you can tick mark. What about the financial affairs in case of state emergency or presidential rule? So Lok Sabha, or in absence of Lok Sabha, president have all the financial power in regard to state list, right? Here control on the state money bill lies with center, and then complete financial control again lies with the center in case of 360. So this was all about your financial emergency and this master slide, revision slide. Let us get into the last leg of this chapter, and the last leg is MCQ. So this is the first MCQ, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9th. So these are 9 MCQs that you are supposed to attempt, right? So from my side, this chapter is over. This chapter was little lengthy, right, because of the detailed analysis. So till then, bye bye.